June 20, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. There was trading, I guess. It was bank holiday yesterday for Juneteenth. So there was some trading yesterday for a very brief amount of time, but it wasn't really worth jumping on to try to trade this. And today was actually, I guess, what you would consider the first official day of trading. Well, I wouldn't say official, but first full day of trading. And it was it was pretty tough for me to find setups today. Prices were I don't know, volatility was not really there, and the setups just weren't very clean. This is what the chart looked like today. There was no piece of economic data. And by the way, you can go down to the description below. You can see where I timestamped where I, where I took my trades as well as where I saw setups. I didn't take a single trade today. There were a few that I thought about, but it was already too late when they moved. So I feel like the no trade today wasn't that big a deal. I don't feel too much FOMO just because I didn't see any clean setups that looked very good. There are a few toward the middle of the day, and then toward the end, it just kind of got choppy. And so I didn't really see any good clean setups. There were second entries, but not off of key entry points or high probability, in my opinion. So hopefully this video doesn't take too long. I'm going to go scroll through it pretty quickly. There was kind of like a big sell-off, a choppy sell-off, because this is originally the highs and the lows of the pre-market, and it was a bearish bias. And as you can see, it broke out here right around the 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, and then it sold off really strongly, kind of rallied in two legs, and then kind of went all the way back to where it opened, and it closed pretty close to where it opened. So price action was I don't know, not very clean today. It just didn't feel like it offered too many opportunities. Nope, didn't mean to move that. Bring that guy back down to here. Okay. This is the pre-market, this gray area. I don't trade the pre-market, so even though I do mark up my charts just to get better at reading charts, here's pretty much where I start watching. And at this point in time, I wasn't sure if it's going to be a range day from here to here, or was it going to have an actual descending trend channel. And I did draw this as a trend line touching these these three spots first, and I was wondering if it's going to touch here, and lo and behold, wondering if it would touch here. And actually it does. So on the market open, prices sell off. It bounces off this double bottom, so I thought that was interesting. You don't get a second entry short until you get all the way about here. I also draw this shortened trend channel going up. This is the first break. It comes up and makes a new high. So it tests this previous extreme. So pretty much the uptrend has played out. I thought this was a possible trade as a second entry short off of this signal bar. Because it's the first break of this channel. It already made a new high. It looks like uptrend's played out. It kind of confirmed this top of this channel. Or at least I didn't really quite have a channel at the time. I just had a potential resistance. It bounced off. So I thought, okay, this is kind of confirming this descending trend line, not necessarily a channel, and there's enough room to the EMA. But I wasn't super sure. I felt it might have been a little risky, so I was looking for some kind of confirmation because this is second entry short above the EMA. Granted, the bias is at the moment going bearish, but you don't know that at the time because you could still be in a trading range that looks like this. So you don't know if it's going to like continue upwards. So even though there's it's setting up for a second entry short, you don't know that it might turn up and keep going, make the second leg. Because one leg up, pull back at second leg. So I didn't know, so I left it alone. But I waited, and a couple of minutes later, it makes this lower high, and it confirms this descending trend channel going down, or at least this trend line. That was a better, cleaner trade. Confirmation of the second entry short. It's a good signal bar. It touched and rejected at the top of the descending trend line. And even though it's above the EMA, price action is kind of telling you that things are, moving down because it's made these consistent lower highs. So this is a possible entry that unfortunately I didn't take. Had I taken it, I would have put it one tick below right here and then had my stop at this top of the double top right here. And as you can see, the trade would have worked out. So I didn't take it, just I don't think I was mentally prepared. I need to get better at that. I just need to be maybe wake up a little earlier to be more sharp. But this was definitely a possible trade, a decent trade to have taken. Then prices continue chopping. I see the second entry short setting up because there's a new low. First entry short comes up. It touches again, confirms. So I'm watching carefully. it flashes down. So this second entry short, I thought at first I thought maybe this is a good trade because the signal bar is terrible, but the trigger bar is pretty good. But you'd have to either put your entry one tick below, or if you wanted less risk, you'd have to put it one tick above, one tick below this signal bar as opposed to the trigger bar. But I saw, this rejection. I think price is going to come back down, but even though it was making lower highs, it made one leg pull back. I'm thinking there's a possibility potentially for a second leg unless this resistance is strong enough to hold prices down. So when I saw this, had this signal bar just been a little bit better and not closed so bullish, this closed down here bearish, I would have taken the trade. But when it closed like this, and then this one confirms the second entry short, it felt I just had a little bit conflicting ideas. I wasn't sure, which way price is really going to go. And to take this, if I took one tick below, my stop loss is up here. It'd be like a 3.5 point risk, and I just didn't feel comfortable taking that trade. So here would have made me nervous because it double bottomed, comes up, triple bottoms, and then it finally moves its way down. So I'm okay not taking this trade because I think it just would have been an anxious entry because this signal bar dictated to me that it isn't the best high probability. It's second short above the EMA, even though it's a bearish downtrend. It's just a little bit conflicting ideas coming into play. So I didn't know, so I let it go. Prices continue moving down. This is the low of the pre-market. It looks like it's tested 1, 2, 3 times now. And so when it bounced off here, I was looking if there was a second entry long, and you technically get a second entry long, first entry long here, a second entry long here, and it's getting close, but I didn't like the way, this is a good signal bar, but I didn't like the way this looked. It's like close to here, even though you get a triple test, prices are being squished and wedged down. So when I saw this, I thinking there might be an entry, but I waited because I didn't like the double top necessarily. This one broke above, it confirmed the second entry long. I wasn't sure still, so then I just left it alone, and this one would have made me nervous, this candle, because it didn't have enough strength to push up. Overall bias wants to go down, so it would be hard to take a long there, at least for me. It has a potential fail breakout here, so it pushed down, broke out of this shortened trend channel, makes a new low. So you think the downtrend's played out, it might come back up and touch the top now. Except the problem is it broke past this triple bottom now, so it could be a failed breakout. But I'm looking for a potential entry of some kind. I do get a lower high here, excuse me, a higher low, and it's a pretty decent signal bar, but the EMA is right there. Looks like if I did take that entry, I most likely would have gotten stopped out, probably down here, unless I kept it way, way down here, which I would not have. Price is chopped around and looked like it would have worked depending on where you kept your stop. Price is going to this trading range, another potential fail breakout, but it doesn't come back. So it's a true breakout. I draw this shortened trend channel. Technically, there's a new low, excuse me, a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but there's no trade here because it's too far from the EMA. You're going counter trend to the overall bias. I left it alone. I just let prices just kind of play out and I'm watching carefully. I don't see any really good clean setup. Technically, there's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, but it's a bad signal bar, and you're already trying to sell into the lows, which is risky. It breaks out of this trend channel, coming down, the shortened trend channel, breaks out and makes a new low. So I'm thinking if it comes back down to here, I actually had this a little bit higher at first. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it'll move all the way back to the top, but that's going to require a lot of power by the bulls to make and reverse this move down. Even though it made a new low, you'd think it might make 2 pushes up and then probably continue back down. At least that's what I was thinking. But it keeps going down, it consolidates, and now here's going to come back up. It's going to break over the EMA, and it comes back, it tests. I'll leave it alone. Coming down, it's getting a little choppy. These are just too small. These candles are very, very spiky. So I didn't want to take a trade there. It's just showing a lot of indecision. There's a huge tug of war happening between the bulls and the bears, and I just don't want to be involved in that. Prices continue moving up. Comes down. I see this as a second entry long. I see new high, and then this resets the count. Goes first entry long, second entry long. Now this second entry long, it's a good signal bar, but it's below the EMA. And the price action just came off this localized bottom. And it was near the lows, right? And it already made 2 legs up though. 1 leg up, pull back, a second leg up. So technically you'd think, okay, it might resume the move back down. So now I made one leg down, and now it's potentially making maybe a lower high and then continue back down. So even though the second entry long is here, I wasn't too sure because it's also the break of this descending trend channel. So it could be like taking a long here feels like it might come back and try to test the lows of this shortened trend channel, even though I think it might go up. But it's a little conflicting ideas that are just kind of throwing all these doubts in my mind. So I just said, I'm just gonna wait for better direction. Looks like it would have worked out. However, here is a confirmation trade now. Here's the higher low of this second entry long, because technically it's first entry long, second entry long, and then you get a higher low. It's a very good signal bar. But I also saw a visual second entry long. I took this as one leg down, first move up, first entry long, second leg down. Now it's getting ready for potential second entry long. So I would have put my entry one tick above this guy. Now the EMA has been, you know, having prices pushed back and forth, but I didn't take this trade because I just wasn't sure. But I thought, potentially if I wanted to take a trade, I'd put it one tick above here. And of course, the next candle, it just likes to laugh in my face. It flashes up and it would have gotten my scalp. Prices continue moving up. It touches the top, comes back down. Now I see a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Now this second entry short fails. Now this bar engulfs the entire signal bar here for the second entry short, but I felt it's already too close to the localized top and it's already too close to potentially this trading range. Because I actually had this drawn like this at one time. Try to capture this, and it was kind of closer to here. So my first trend channel, pretend you don't know what's going to happen, because I didn't, was something close to that. So when I saw this, I felt it's already too close to the top of this range. And it breaks out, flashes back down, pops around, gets a little noisy. I can't quite tell what's going on. This is where that first line was drawn. It broke out, overshoot. Second overshoot comes back down, overshoot on the other side. Now it's moving back, comes back and touches. So now I'm thinking this might not really be a valid channel. I draw the bigger one here. Add one touch, two touch, and this is actually at one time a little lower, like right there. And I treated this as one overshoot. And I saw this as a potential second entry short failure. It's a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Now this is a very, very bullish bar, but there's no body here. And it is trending up. So I am not 100% sure we have a good reversal pattern yet. You are trending back up, but this is a kind of very shallow, kind of a weak uptrend. So you could argue it's actually a trading range, which I kind of drew with this blue box. It's actually a little bit lower at one time. It's closer to this. So I wasn't sure what was going on, but I thought I noticed this. I thought maybe there's a trade there, but I wasn't sure, so I left it alone. Flashes up. It would have been just enough to get a scalp out, and then this one would for sure confirm the scalp to get out. Prices move up. At this point, I draw the trading range to be up here. I don't see a good setup. There's a fail breakout potentially. Coming back down. I'm wondering if it's going to come back to touch the other side. It doesn't. It just kind of runs away. It helps confirm that this is the trend channel going up. I had one touch, two touch. There's a third touch now. And this was a little messy, but I considered it kind of like two touches and maybe if it overshoot. Prices continue moving up and now overshoots again. I draw this shortened trend channel going up, but I don't see a clean setup. Technically, there's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, failure, but it's too far from the EMA, and it's already pretty close to the localized high. I just didn't like that setup. Prices continue moving up. There's no good clean entries here. It looks like it creates a second leg, so it's one leg up, pull back, a little consolidation, a second leg up. I don't see any good clean setups. Prices move down. It kind of falls into this trading range, but then it doesn't stay there too long and it breaks out. So a short trend channel here, but I didn't see a good clean setup. I see it like I was playing with the idea at one time, maybe there's a wider channel, but I couldn't quite make it fit. So I had one channel, a little bit of consolidation, and a second channel up. But overall, price action just wasn't very obvious to me. It was a little challenging. So price came down. Technically, I have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. It's a good signal bar, but it's right at the EMA. EMA is also flattening out now, so I'm just a little weary. It also drew this trend channel or this resistance coming down, so I wasn't sure if I was in the actual channel because I only had two confirmations at the bottom, two confirmations at the top. This could potentially be my third confirmation. I did see a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, but again, it's right here against the EMA, and things are just looking like it's more sideways than really a clear direction at this point. Comes back down, it breaks through, and now it just kind of chops. I just didn't feel in line with the market today, so I kind of left it alone. So new low here, first entry short, second entry short. Technically, you have a third entry short, but I also saw this as one leg up, a first break. I'm thinking it might be one break, comes down, maybe a second break to touch the top of this potential high to retest it. Comes back down, touches. Now I see like a triple test. Because originally I actually had this, I played with this throughout the day. I wasn't sure if it was here, but I eventually settled to be right here. I thought, okay, there's probably triple test, 1, 2, 3, potentially a bounce. Unfortunately, I don't see a good clean setup because you don't have really a first entry long to get about right here. Then you might have a second entry long here. You do, but I just didn't like what I was looking at. It was a little confusing. It comes up. I mean, you might have gotten a scalp out, but then you'd have to sit through this chopping, and then I drew this blue resistance coming down. I'm thinking this could be part of a channel, so I start off with a trend line coming down, and I wasn't sure if there was an actual channel here, like actually right here. So at one time I kind of had something like this, but I was giving more credibility to the resistance as opposed to the support. Prices are chopping left and right. And this is already getting pretty late in the day because this price action is very slow. You could tell like this is from 11 o'clock to about 12 o'clock. There's not much candles here. And then from 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock, because right here, there wasn't too many setups as well. So even though there was okay volume, this just didn't offer too many setups today. And prices continue chopping. This is getting really close to the end of the day, even though there's a lot of candles. It just happens that this is where last, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes of the day, traders are closing out their positions. They don't want to hold it overnight. And so I didn't trade any of this or try to trade any of that and just kind of watched it go into the close. So it was kind of a challenging day. It was definitely a test of patience to not jump in on anything. And even the possible trades that I saw, I'm okay not taking them because there was a possible trade here with a higher low, as well as a potential trade over here with the lower high, and I missed those. And this one would have worked out pretty well. And this second entry short here was a little iffy, and if I'd taken it, it looked like it would have worked out pretty well. However, at the time, it just didn't quite give me enough warm and fuzzy to take the trade. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully anybody watching this, if you haven't been watching this, got more trades than I did.